So, what separates leaders who crumble under pressure from those who emerge stronger? Today, we're going to the Garden of Gethsemane to discover how Jesus modeled leadership in the most difficult moment in his life and how you can apply these principles when your leadership is tested. Hey, friends, thanks for joining today on Leading with Bill. I'm Bill Martin, your personal leadership coach, and this is where biblical wisdom can transform your leadership approach. If you're an aspiring leader or manager who wants to grow into authentic leadership, you're in the right place. Every leader faces moments of crisis, times when everything just feels uncertain, when the pressure is overwhelming, and when your team is looking to you for direction. The question isn't whether moments will come, but how you'll respond when they do. So we're going to turn today in the Bible, in the Gospel of Mark, chapter 14, verses 32 through 42. This is where we find Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane just hours before his crucifixion. So starting in verse 32, listen to this. They went to a place called Gethsemane, and Jesus said to his disciples, "Sit here while I pray." He took Peter, James, and John along with him, and he began to be deeply distressed and troubled. "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death," he said to them. "Stay here and keep watch." Now, even Jesus, the perfect leader, experienced deep distress and overwhelming sorrow. But notice what he did next. He went a little farther, fell to the ground, and he prayed. He was honest about his struggle, yet he remained committed to his mission. Here is what Jesus teaches us about leading through crisis. First, acknowledge the reality. So Jesus didn't pretend that everything was fine. He told his closest disciples how he felt, overwhelmed and sorrowful. Authentic leaders don't hide behind false strengths. They're honest about the gravity of the situation. Second is seek support. Jesus brought his inner circle with him. He asked them to stay and keep watch. Even the strongest leaders need their people during difficult times. Now, I know this example here of the disciples isn't great because they fell asleep, but we all need to seek support from those who can help. Third, stay connected to your foundation. Jesus prayed. He went back to his core relationship and values. In crisis, leaders must anchor themselves in what matters most. And finally, choose commitment over comfort. Despite his anguish, Jesus said to his Father, "Yet not what I will, but what you will." He chose to move forward with his mission, even when it was most painful. Have you seen any of these responses in action by a leader before? If so, share your experience in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Also, if you're finding value in today's leadership topic, hit like and subscribe. In today's workplace, maintaining your values during challenges is what separates true leaders from managers who just react to circumstances. When budgets are cut, when layoffs loom, projects fail, or when teams are just struggling, that's when your leadership is truly tested. The leaders I've seen succeed during a crisis, they don't abandon their values for quick fixes. They don't sacrifice their integrity for short-term results. Instead, they lean into their core principles and values and use them as a compass to navigate through the storm. I remember a time early in my HR career when our company faced significant layoffs. Now, as an HR leader, I had to help implement decisions that would impact families and livelihoods. This was probably one of the most difficult times in my career, similar to a Gethsemane moment for me. And I remember feeling just overwhelmed, and I even had a lot of questions. Questions like, do I really even want to do this? I had to make a choice. Would I follow orders and be callous about it? Or would I lead with my values intact? Well, I chose to be honest with affected employees about the process, to treat everyone with care, dignity, and respect, and to provide as much support as possible during these transitions. It wasn't easy, but maintaining those values during the crisis helped care for those employees that were impacted, and it strengthened trust with the remaining team as we look to transition and move forward. So, what's the lesson here? Your values aren't just for good times, they're your anchor during the storms. So, here's how you can implement this principle. First, identify your core values before the crisis hits. You can't navigate by a compass you've never looked at. Let me say that again. You can't navigate by a compass you've never looked at. I just love that saying. If I were to ask you, what are your top 3 values? Could you answer that question confidently? If you've never spent intentional time identifying your core values, stay tuned in a minute and I'll share how you can do that. Second is build your inner circle. Those trusted advisors who will stay and keep watch with you. Who would you list as your 2 or 3 people who you would go to for advice, wisdom, and counsel? And third is develop your spiritual or reflective practices now. So when pressure comes, you know where to turn to for strength. For me, I lean into the Bible. And there are many key scriptures for encouragement. One of these is Proverbs 3, verses 5 and 6. It's trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. I just love that. Now remember, leading through crisis isn't about having all the answers. It's about staying true to who you are while moving forward with courage. Now, if you want to dive deeper into your leadership development, I've developed a free values-based leadership assessment. As I mentioned earlier, our values are personal and core to who we are and how we live. Identifying and understanding our core values is foundational to discover that we are made on purpose and for a purpose. Don't wait until you're in the garden to discover what you truly believe. Just click on the link in the description below to get this free resource and take the first step toward becoming the leader you were meant to be. Friends, check out this video and leadership topic on Leading with Bill. I'm thankful for you, and remember, trust in the Lord with all your heart. We'll see you next time.